Hello everybody and welcome into Dover Motor Speedway, aka the Monster Mile, the spot tonight for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series, and about that midway point through the season, and that means that tonight is crucial for the drivers trying to continue their chase of a championship. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, qualifying is complete. Small field here tonight. We'll get to more on that in just a moment. But nonetheless, taking the pole here tonight, the man who is starting to prevail is maybe another strong championship contender, and that's the 99 of Bryce Rayner. Puts down a 22.15. Nathan Meyer will start to his outside in second. In the 24, it'll be Andrew Hale back in third. James Harris, he'll start fourth here tonight, the 55 truck. William Mann Jr. fifth. Toby Ritter's back in sixth with Kevin Kerchar in seventh. Mike Hill in the 27, eighth, and Jason Nethery rounding out the field in ninth. Distance here tonight, going to be 110 laps as it is the Dover 110. 100% fuel with open setups as always. You do have that one fast repair in Dover Motor Speedway, a mile in length, but a lot of banking in the corners makes it feel like a roller coaster and a tough track to tame. That's why it got the name the Monster Mile. Let's see who can tame it tonight. Green flag in the air. We are underway at Dover. Good restart out of the gate for the front two. Bryce Rayner, I'll tell you what, I thought he was going to pull away quickly, but he doesn't. Instead, it's the 24, Nathan Meyer, trying to hang even with him off of turn two. And these first couple laps are always tricky. You're trying to get the tires up to temp up to pressure, and you're just holding on, especially as you're trying to get the gas off of four. Again, notice just how much banking there is in the corner. In fact, we'll be hopping on a few different onboards tonight, but it is, again, a really, really tough track mentally because it's so rhythm-based. 1 and 2 is the exact same as 3 and 4, but if you make even a slight mistake on exit, you're going to go up into the outside wall. That's just the way this track runs. So I think the keys to victory here tonight, obviously we're going to have a green flag pit stop in store if this race does go green, which you would expect that it very well has that possibility, knowing that there's only 9 trucks in the field here tonight, but battle for the lead, second and third, is still pretty tight right now. In fact, Andrew Hale trying to sneak to the inside here of James Harris. No luck yet as he continues to stay side by side with William Mann Jr. Meanwhile, up front, looking for a crossover. That's Nathan Meyer in the 24. Tried to get to the inside of Bryce Rayner, slipped up, and now he might lose the spot to the 55 of Harris. Back to single file 1 and 2 as they work their way off of turn at number 2. How about an onboard view here tonight? We'll show you early just how tricky this track is. Remember, only a mile in length, but notice the speeds that these guys run in the trucks here. 160 exiting the corner, the speed down entering the corner over 170 miles an hour, and again, still well up over 150 through the majority of the corner. So a very, very fast racetrack, even though it's only a pretty short distance around here. By the way, the best view in the house right now is your leader, Bryce Rayner, who is carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. And there is Bryce, last week's winner, trying to see if he can make it 3 in a row here tonight, find his way to victory lane yet again. Certainly looking like a very strong possibility with the speed he's had out of the gate. Now it's James Harris who's going to try to challenge for the lead. He said last week at Rockingham he felt like he used his stuff up a little bit too much there, trying to run hard early in the run here tonight. Maybe he tries the opposite, just kind of sits in the footsteps here of the 99 of Rayner. He'll take another peek, though, this time down into turn number 1. Bryce Rayner still on the outside, holding strong. Any side draft that you can get to pull that guy back before you get into the next corner. And I was just going to say, if you're Harris here, you're either going to have to dive this in and slide up, or the 99 of Rayner is going to have to give. Somebody's got to go. And instead, it was kind of a split decision there. I think the 55 was going to consider diving it in, but Rayner gave it to him. And now you see Rayner actually going to fall back a few spots. I think he's decided to go into some tire save mode. The view out back of Bryce Rayner. Again, still single file, but the first 5 trucks all within just about half a second of each other. Now, I mentioned at the start of the race, only 9 trucks here tonight. Very small field, not what we're used to seeing. Had a brief talk with James Harris before. He said, you know, I was talking with series owner Kevin Kerchar, and we're really not sure what's going on. Not sure if the guys just don't really like the open setups, if they don't like the track selection, something in between. But either way, this guy's going to try to get some things sorted out. And obviously, in terms of, it's got to make sense financially, and of course, just sense in general, that if the field's consistently start dropping under, 10 trucks a race. I hate to say it because it's what I love doing, but there's really not as much of a point for a broadcaster because it just doesn't really leave us with as much to talk about. Obviously, you've got 9 of the best guys in the series out here, so that certainly helps, but the general idea here, and the reason I'm mentioning this, is that over the course of the next few weeks, depending on attendance count, you may see these guys decide that it might be best for now until at least attendance goes back up to maybe focus more on the product and not necessarily worrying about a broadcast, and I completely understand. Just want to keep everybody updated in case in, who knows, maybe the next week or a couple weeks you don't see a broadcast and you're wondering why. Well, that could be your potential answer. All right, so most of the field still up pretty tight with the leaders. You've got a couple trucks on an island. That's Kevin Kirchar and Toby Ritters. And then Jason Ethery and Mike Hill trying to play catch-up right now. In fact, Mike Hill, not sure if he had an issue or if he's just struggling to find some pace right now, but way behind the leaders at the moment. In fact, he could be in danger of the first truck to go a lap down here at some point. It is the driver out of Gulfport, Mississippi. You see just now crossing the start-finish line as the leaders work their way off of turn at number 2. So there you go. And as we go a little bit further up towards the front right here, William Mann Jr. in the 29. A couple races ago, he had a really tough run. I think that was at Bristol. It was either Bristol or Martinsville that we were talking about him having a really tough time. But he turned it around the last couple weeks, and William Mann Jr. definitely going to be in the fight, not only tonight, but at least to try to climb back onto the podium. And I know it's early in this one, but I do want to talk briefly about what the point setup is looking like now that these guys have gotten just a little bit separated here with 14 of 110 laps complete. All right, so we're talking about points. This is, again, updated after last week. Nathan Meyer is still your points leader. Him and Rayner currently sit 1-2 in the points, even though they both have a win. 2 wins. And then you've got James Harris, who currently sits 3rd in the points without any wins, but he's been consistent and only 1 point behind Rayner at the moment. 10 points, though, behind Nathan Meyer. Everybody else still playing chase, but I would say, just looking at the points here, I would say from about John Thacker up, or Brad Thacker, excuse me, they're all within range. Like, it's not unrealistic that they could still have a chance as long as you show up to every race and consistently try to put together good finishes. Now here tonight, obviously missing a few drivers, and so that plays a part into it. Nonetheless, 17 of 110 laps in the books. And still leading the way here is James Harris. If you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. Hope that you are having a good Tuesday night. Meeks Motorsports, which I could be wrong, but I'm assuming is Tyler Meeks, says open setups are pay to win. Not a fan of that for me. And, well, yeah, I mean, you got a point, Meeks. I could certainly agree with that. I know that there's different setup shops that you can work with, and by working with, you pay and you get setups. I'm not sure if that's the case for all these guys that are sponsored by some of the bigger setup shops, but I definitely see where you're coming from, Meeks, and I completely understand the frustration there. I, myself, tend to stay away from some of the open setup leagues, more so just because I don't know what the heck I'm doing when it comes to setting up these trucks, but I think the other side of it, obviously, is, or the idea, at least in a perfect world, is these guys all spend time practicing each week to make a setup and then come out here and race it. But at the same time, go the pay to go with a big setup shop company, or route rather. Obviously, that is a possibility. So still a tight battle here for the second spot is, Mike Hill on the pits here. This is way earlier than we would have expected anybody to be pitting, even if, well, I mean, 20 laps in, it is a mile racetrack. You figure 90 laps, maybe this is part of the strategy here for Mike Hill. It certainly still seems pretty early to me, and actually looks like he may have hopped out of that truck. So he may have decided to call it for the night, and indeed he did. See the black screen indicating that he has hopped out of the truck. So Mike Hill going to be the first man out of it here tonight. James Harris, though, still up front, and in fact, he's extended that gap, at least for the moment, to about 0.7 of a second. Now, still curious to see if the 99 of Rayner is going to do what he's done each and every week over the last few, and that is reel these guys back in over the long run. The less trucks, the better in his case, because obviously he doesn't have to worry about necessarily getting a yellow or anything that could mess him up if he doesn't feel like he has the long run speed, but maybe feels like he has the short run speed. And so Bryce Rayner, again, doing a great job so far here tonight, as is Nathan Meyer, and everybody in the top 5. Now, we didn't get a chance to talk about Nethery just yet tonight. He is up a spot from where he qualified at. Still running pretty far behind the pack. He could use a caution. And right now, chasing after the 7th place running, William Mann Jr., who's currently running behind Toby Ritters. By the way, William Mann Jr. had a good run going. Not sure what happened, but that truck seems to have started to fall off on the speed side. And there is Toby Ritters currently in 6th. Kevin Kirchart up in the 5th spot. You've got Andrew Hale 4th, Nathan Meyer 3rd, Bryce Rayner 2nd, and there he is, James Harris, still leading the way here at Dover. Gap now down to about half a second between the leader and 2nd place. Nathan Meyer not worried about trying to battle Rayner just yet because he knows that he's closing the gap. As it runs right now, he will catch probably over the course of the next 10 laps or so. In fact, we'll pull up that time delta and show you what it's looking like. Rayner was about 7/10, almost 8/10 of a second back 5 laps ago. In the most recent lap, he's just 4/10 back. So again, continues to trim that lead down here as the laps click off. And they go by pretty fast here. Just looking at the lap times, about 24.2 seconds or so. Now, it will be interesting to see how much fall off there is here. It's obviously a track where tires are pretty important. Rayner now in drafting range, and he is just about pulled up to the back bumper of Harris. It's gonna be interesting to see here what James Harris tries to do. Can he defend, or does he just kind of have to let the 99 go again, as the 99 did for him earlier? Well, Rayner's going to try to get to the inside. Harris is trying to pinch him down on exit. He fends him off, lives to fight another corner, but it's just going to say at some point here, I think Rayner's just got that much better of a long run setup right now and that much fresher tires. There's just not much anybody can really do to go against him. Ooh, does blink out though briefly. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Bryce Rayner. All right, he's back. Close call right there. That was a sketchy moment. The 99 of Rayner. So he stays as your leader right now. Nathan Meyer was able to get around for the 2nd spot. I think if you're Nathan Meyer, obviously continue this charge. Try to get to the front if you can. And, you know, the good thing for Meyer, obviously, is that if he finishes 2nd, he's really not going to lose many points, if any, to Bryce Rayner. And obviously, the less trucks you have in the field, the less points there are to go around. Now, the 55 of Harris, who's settled into 3rd here, we'll see when he decides to pit. You know, I think that the green flag pit stop here, depending on where you run, would range, well, realistically, probably anywhere from, I don't know, lap 60 plus to maybe getting close to the end. It's just a matter of what strategy you decide to go with. I know, you know, if you're a leader, you want to kind of wait as long as you can so that you can be on offense throughout the entire end of the race. But if you're one of these guys that's, you know, 2nd, 3rd trying to catch Bryce Rayner, maybe you do try some strategy. Pit early, get some fresh tires, click off some really fast lap times, and then try to play defense when it starts to come down to the end. All right, 30 laps in the books here at Dover. We're going to take our first break tonight. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Bryce Rayner continues to lead him at the Monster Mile.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill.
On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Dover Motor Speedway, the Dover 110 for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. While we were gone, no change for the lead. It is still all Bryce Rayner out in front. Nathan Meyer currently sitting in second playing chase, but to no avail. Right now, 0.8 of a second behind and really has not been gaining much, if any, over the course of the last handful of laps. Now, we are getting slowly but surely closer to the halfway point in this race. It'll be about 16 or 17 laps when we cross the line this time. Taking you back to some of the other battles on track. Andrew Hale making his way behind James Harris. And so for James Harris's sake here, I think he's just trying to hold on. I don't know if the tires have given out or if the setup just doesn't have the long run speed that he needs, but either way, he is really struggling to keep pace right now. 55, and I say keep pace, I mean still in the top 5, but this is one of those scenarios where you're just trying to survive until you can get to the pit stop, get some fresh tires, try to go back out and either take it a little bit easier in the shorter run and hope to have the speed in the long run, or try to make some adjustments to the setup. Either way, it has been tough sledding for anybody trying to chase down the 99 so far here tonight. He hasn't let them all. It was James Harris early who was able to fight his way by the 99, and it almost makes you wonder if we had a short run to end this thing. I gotta feel like the 99 would maybe have a couple guys that would compete against him pretty strongly, including Harris, Meyer, maybe even Hale, Kirchar, a few others, but it's just this few of trucks, it's unlikely that we have a late caution. But obviously, we'll have to wait and see. So as it stands, again, 42 of 110 laps complete. And Bryce Rayner trying to grab his third win of the season. Again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. Hope that you're having a good Tuesday evening. By the way, next place the PGR eSports will head is not going to be, I think, until the end of the week. No race Thursday. And obviously, these guys, we'll see if we're back with them again next Tuesday. And battles continue to get more and more spread out as it stands. And, I mean, we can kind of take you back through the season just to get kind of retrospect. We talked about the two drivers who already found victory lane. The third that found victory lane so far this season was Brian High. Obviously, we don't see him in the field here tonight, but we kicked things off at Homestead this season before we headed to the short track of Martinsville. Talladega, Bristol, and Rockingham were the other three. And again, Nathan Meyer won 2 of those. Bryce Rayner won the last 2. And then at Talladega Super Speedway, it was Brian High playing upset and getting the job done there. So 44 of 110 laps complete. We're well in that fuel window, by the way. I do want to say that. We're at the point now where if you pit, in theory, you should be able to make it to the end. Although this, 60 laps or so. I think these guys can make it there, but just don't really see any reason to pit that soon. Unless you're one of the drivers in the back trying to flip strategy. And obviously, the other strategy is stay out and hope for a caution. You know, if you see the leader decide to go in soon. But realistically, that's probably also not going to happen here tonight. As, again, 9 trucks. And even though we're pretty late into the run, just visually looking around at different trucks, nobody's had any major handling issues. Hop on board here with Jason Nethery, and we'll go through the field a little bit and show you some different onboard views to see how the handling looks on different trucks. You see Nethery gets a little bit loose on the exit of the corner, but I mean, that's to be expected at a track like Dover. Nothing way out of the ordinary, and certainly doesn't look like he's fighting to try to hold on to that truck. Now, Kevin Kirchar, who currently sits in 6th, see the handling of his truck as he makes sure he gets that big diamond arch off the corner so that you can kind of hook the bottom right where that apron touches the racetrack. By the way, Dover is a concrete oval. That's one of the big differences that makes Dover so unique compared to a lot of other racetracks. But again, Kevin Kirchard taking that high entry, arcs it down, tries to get as shallow of an exit as he can, but looks like for him the truck's more so getting tight than anything else. And we go up another spot here. Toby Ritters, who currently sits in 5th, is up a spot from where he started this race at as he works his way up off the corner. James Harris, who it seemed like was starting to get really tight, based on the handling of his truck, seems to have been able to kind of finally stop the bleeding, at least for now. Obviously, Ritters only 0.2 back, but if James Harris can hold on for a few more laps here, may be able to limp him to this first green flag pit stop before things get any worse. And I mentioned that battle. That's how close Toby Ritters has gotten to the back bumper of James Harris. And while draft isn't super prevalent here, it does play a little bit of a role down the straightaways, and then obviously dirty air, something that hurts you in the corners. And so as the 3 of Toby Ritters works his way down into the corner, Harris still just trying to get that truck to turn. That's why he's washed up a little bit. You can always tell who's got the long run handling based off when we're at this point in a run, which trucks are able to still hook the bottom and which trucks kind of have to stay in the middle just to get any speed and really make anything work. But the 99 of Bryce Rayner, notice he's still pretty on the bottom. He washes up a little bit after he kind of goes to the bottom on entry, arcs up to the middle, and then pins it back down to the bottom on exit. And he now finds himself over 2 seconds ahead of second place Nathan Meyer. Andrew Hale again in that 3rd spot, looking to see if he could maybe get up to second, grab his season best finish here tonight if he could do that. But Nathan Meyer with the Team Watson Racing setup, Bryce Rayner with the Team Conti Racing setup, pretty much tells you all you need to know about the setup shops that have been dominant so far this season. And obviously one of the topics of discussion, of at least interest on if that's playing a role in some of the low attendance here tonight, on if guys are just not really a big fan of the open setups and hoping to go back to fixed, or if it's something else. But definitely interesting to see the guys that are with setup shops consistently showing some of the fastest runs each and every week, which is, again, a compliment to the setup shops. And you'll hear these guys praise them all the time. Rayner, every time he wins or we get an interview, he always praises how much speed the Team Conti setup had for that week. So obviously Team Conti seems to be one of the dominant ones here this season. By the way, shout out to the beautiful looking paint scheme for James Harris and Kevin Kirchard. And for James Harris, obviously has the sponsored paint scheme on for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Caution. Caution. And you wonder what's it for here. I think I know what it's for. I think this is a competition caution. That's my guess here. 55 of 110 laps. Nobody was even in the ballpark of each other. So I think that they threw this caution to try to give us a little bit more of a race here. Certainly my initial guess. Obviously, we'll have to go back and look to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Only 8 trucks, and we didn't get any data that anybody spun or went off track or anything of that nature. Which, again, kind of tells me that I think the admins threw this as a halfway point. Let everybody go in for tires, fuel, and then come back out and try this again. Let's go look at it here real quick. And there's Bryce Rayner. There's Meyer. There's the rest of the field out on back. And notice how everybody's going in the right direction. Yeah, it's because that caution was not for incident. Again, looks like it was a competition caution. Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? Maybe there was some virtual debris out on the racetrack that they're going to go and try to pick up. But nonetheless, it'll certainly change up the pace of the race now as we will get a restart. While we await that restart, we're going to go ahead and take another quick break. And again, we'll be back here for the final 55 laps at Dover.
a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back to Dover Motor Speedway, where we're lining up here for our first and likely only restart of the night, but hey, gives the fans something to watch at home and gives these guys at least a chance to try to make some adjustments, or at least try to go about it a little different in terms of how much tire they save. So this restart's going to be really interesting. You've got Rayner and Hale on the front row, and then Nathan Meyer and Toby Ritters on row 2, James Harris rounding out the top 5. Kirchar, Nethery, and William Mann Jr. rounding out the rest of the field. Here we go. Might be the last shot at it. Green flag back in the air. First restart of the night. And Rayner gets a phenomenal jump. He'll quickly clear up and jump to that top lane before they get down into turn number 1. Rayner still clear by plenty off of 2. Now watch for Nathan Meyer. He's not going to mess around too long here behind the 4 of Andrew Hale, because he knows that every lap he's stuck behind the 4, the 99 is going to try to run away. The 55 of Harris, don't count him out either. He had phenomenal short run speed earlier on the initial start of the race, and we'll see if now he can try to use that short run speed to maybe get some of these spots back. And by the way, I started to mention it earlier, but again, shout out to the beautiful paint scheme on that Chevy Silverado for James Harris. He's got the Grindstone Developments sponsor, of course, Kevin Kirchar, the sponsor for the league, and Grindstone Developments is associated company, so we appreciate everything that Grindstone does, not only for the series, but also being here each and every week to allow the fans to watch it at home via the broadcast and helping sponsor that. Harris going to look to the inside here of Nathan Meyer. Can he make this happen? No. Looked like for a moment the 55 had a shot at it, but just couldn't quite get enough grip on that inside line to drive it up under the 24. He's thinking about trying it again, though, here. Off of 2, Meyer looks to be just a little bit better, and I thought initially that Andrew Hale was going to fall right back to the 24 of Nathan Meyer, but that was not the case. And instead, it's actually been Andrew Hale trying to track down Bryce Rayner and pull away here from Nathan Meyer over these first few laps. One thing I will say was this restart definitely not nearly as close as the initial start of the race, where we had these guys, at least your top 5, all within half a second of each other for probably nearly 15, 20 laps or so. And now it seems like it's only about the top 3 that are really within range of each other. And even Nathan Meyer trying to fend off a few of these guys out back. Gonna have to be a little bit more worried about that battle right now than that of what's going on in front. So if you're Bryce Rayner here, I think you're just saving tire. If you're Nathan Meyer, oh! Meyer actually tagged the outside wall right there. That was a pretty hard hit for Nathan Meyer. My goodness. 24 was able to straighten it out. He'll lose a spot, but I wonder if he was maybe trying to push his issue a little bit too much. Looking at the right side of that truck, I don't see any damage. That's the good news. But that was certainly some notable contact that he had with the outside safer barrier coming off turn 2 that last lap. Meanwhile, back up front, Hale continues to put the pressure on here to the back bumper of Bryce Rayner, but still yet to actually make any move in order to get by. And so if you're Bryce Rayner at this point, knowing that you've led this many laps and there's no pit stops left to go, I think he's feeling probably pretty confident in his ability to try to finish this one off. But again, if we get a caution again, that would obviously change everything up. Here comes James Harris, though. You can now actually see him closing in on the back of Andrew Hale. So I can tell you just based off of that Harris He's not changing his strategy from the initial start. No tire saving going on for the 55. He is going for it. Trying to see if he can get the job done. Kevin Kirchar back in 6th. He's up a position where he started this race at. He's got the beautiful Grant's Mulching Company sponsor on board, the GCM. And so if you're Kevin Kirchar right here, he sees that there's a bit of a gap in front, but he's got plenty of time still to try to close in a little bit. See if he can't maybe catch up a little bit before this race is all said and done and break into the top 5. Now, by the way, as we turn our attention back to these front 3, I do want to talk about where these guys are planned to head next. After this week, it'll be off to Texas Motor Speedway, which is where the officials are at this week for the trucks. And that is I love that track. I mean, it's so interesting that it kind of runs like a super speedway from off of turn 2 to the entrance of turn 1, and then 1 and 2 runs like what you would think at like a track like Dover, where it's very technical. So again, Texas Motor Speedway, very interesting but very fast mile and a half. That should be a good one next week. And then Kansas on May 13th, followed by North Wilkesboro. That'll be an interesting one. And then it's off to Charlotte Motor Speedway, followed by Nashville Super Speedway, and then the championship is going to be at Michigan, and that'll be June 10th. So still a fair ways to go in the season. As a matter of fact, we are officially halfway through once this race is complete tonight, and we'll have 6 races remaining in this 12-race season. All right, just 40 laps to go. Still a tight heat right now between your top 3. And then the next 2 battles is the one for 4th and the one for 6th. James Harris, I think right now trying to see if Andrew Hale's maybe going to think about trying to make a move here on Rayner, or if Harris is going to have to try to make the move himself. As we go to the onboard view, the nose cam of Andrew Hale, you see how much he closes up on entry. And then as they get on exit here, who's a little bit better? Now, it looks like that time it was actually Andrew Hale who was a little bit better. They'll try to close in again, but it's actually Rayner who pulls away a little bit on entry to the corner. Here's the nose view now for James Harris, trying to catch, and then the gearbox view, looking back out at Nathan Meyer, who's trying to fend off a charging Toby Ritters, and now here comes Kevin Kirchar. He wants a piece of the mix. Jason Nethery still hanging tight as well. And so all of a sudden, what seemed like you had a bunch of drivers fading back and was going to be even more spread out than what we saw in the first run has completely flipped. Now these guys seem to be all closing the gaps on each other, and we might have a race on our hands here with just under 40 laps to go. And I still couldn't say. I know he's a smart guy, so I would assume he is, but I just don't know for sure if Rayner's saving tire right now or if he just can't seem to find any more pace. But James Harris has gotten by Andrew Hale, and he is on the move. If he can get by the 99, that'll give him some clean air, and at that point, he would love to see a caution probably, because he could get some fresh tires and then come out as the leader. But if nothing else, I think if you're James Harris here, you got to get this spot before the tires wear out to the point where Rayner tries to pull away. Harris still stalking in the footprints here as they work into turn 3. Meanwhile, further back, Kevin Kirchar going to look to the inside of Toby Ritters. Ritters still has the momentum on the outside, though. He'll pull back clear down the front stretch. The outside, usually not the place to be here, but in the case of Ritters, the 91 has a slower truck hold him up front, and Nathan Meyer at the moment. So the 3 still able to get that momentum and hold clear of the 91 by the time they get down into the corner. Nathan Meyer, the 24, 2-time winner this season, still struggling as he holds even with the 3 of Toby Ritters. Remember, the longer you stay side by side with a guy like this, the more tire that you burn up. Now up front, Harris just waiting to see when he's going to try to dive that truck a lane lower than the 99 of Rayner into one of these corners and get that position. But he hasn't been able to do so just yet. In fact, if you're Bryce Rayner, see Rayner blink out a little bit right there off of turn 4. I think if you're Rayner, though, you're looking a lot in your mirror, a lot more at least than you were earlier. And obviously, that's something that can throw your line off a little bit as a driver. As we will be coming up now on 30 laps to go here in just a few laps. And I mean, how beautiful of a sight is that? You have got all 7 trucks left in the race, all within a second of each other. I mean, you can't ask for better racing at Dover in that sense. So even with the smaller field, these guys still finding a way to put on a show here tonight. Off at turn 2, Rayner still leads. No move yet from James Harris as they work under the catwalk into turn number 3. And further back you go. The more gap now that starts to form, as I was trying to see if we had some data on what happened to William Mann Jr., the 29 machine, who is being officially scored in 8th, and it looks like his race may end in that position with, again, where he currently stands. And it looks like Kirchar here getting ready to try to have to hold off a move. No, actually, it's the opposite. It's going to be the 91 of Kirchar making the move here on Nathan Meyer. What a pass that was. He'll slide right up in front of the 24 on exit of the corner. Now, I say 30 laps, which, again, is going to go by relatively quick here. But even keeping that in mind, that is still enough laps to where if you didn't save tire, I think we could see some guys significantly fall off out of nowhere here, probably about the last 15 laps or so of this race. So that is just another thing that these drivers are going to have to make sure that they keep in mind as we are now officially at that 30 lap to go marker. And leading the way is still Bryce Rayner, James Harris 2nd, Andrew Hale 3rd, Toby Ritter's 4th. And it's Kevin Kirchar riding out your top 5 and the last driver within a second of your leader, Nathan Meyer 6th, and Jason Nethery back in 7th. William Mann Jr. and Michael Hill have both retired from the race, and so they are out of it. And their only chance for the rest of the season, or excuse me, their chances tonight are over. They're going to have to wait till the next race. They want to try to accumulate any more points as there's nobody else behind them, so they're not going to gain any more points even if any of these trucks at this point wreck out. So on a night where we only started with 9 trucks, down to 7, and still getting racing like this. How about James Harris on the inside of Bryce Rayner trying to get clear? He knows how important this move is. Could maybe translate to the move for the win, but he just can't do it. I think that Rayner was able to save a little bit more tire through that time of just being in the front and kind of riding around when Andrew Hale was behind him. And Rayner's a smart guy. What he's going to do here is anytime that James Harris tries to make a lunge, he'll let him have it on the inside because he knows he's got a little bit fresher tires. So he'll be able to still make the outside work and obviously get that momentum down the straightaways. So Harris won't ever be able to get clear. And instead, he'll just burn up his tires in the process of doing so. So with that in mind, if you're Harris here, you're going to have to search a little deeper, try to find something else. As he is now starting to get some pressure here from Andrew Hale in the 4. Toby Ritter's back in the 3, getting pressure from the 24 of Nathan Meyer, who has gotten back around the 91 of Kevin Kirchar. So maybe now Nathan Meyer's going to try to start his climb back towards the front as your top 3 are within 0.3 of a second of each other, as we are now getting ready to hit 25 laps to go as they cross the line at this time around. So James Harris, he's going to try the outside this time. Got to watch out. Andrew Hale trying to sneak down low, but look at the run that it's going to give Harris off the corner. James Harris with a massive run. Is he going to try to do something with it here into turn 3? Yes, he is. The 55 of James Harris to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to pull clear of the 99 of Rayner, but he will not be able to do it. Rayner's able to stay even, keeps him honest on the bottom. And you can see all the momentum that he loses as soon as they get onto the front stretch. James Harris just not able to complete this pass. I think at the current moment, he might be a little bit faster than Rayner. But again, just cannot seem to find a way to get by. And so as they all continue to chase your leader, Bryce Rayner, here at Dover, we're going to take one more break. We'll be back for the rest of these laps to see who's going to get the win here tonight at the Monster Mile. Stick with us at Dover.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3 by 3. Almost found trouble. Around goes Alex Hill.
On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
We're back to the Dover 110 here at Dover Motor Speedway. The Grindstone Developments Truck Series getting ready to round out race 6 of 12 on the season. And with just 16 laps to go, how things have shifted. Rayner still your leader, no big change there. But behind him, everybody has fallen off except this man right here. The 24 of Nathan Meyer, who, if you remember earlier in the run, backed it way off. In fact, fell all the way to the back of the pack. But now has made his way back up to second, 9/10 of a second behind Rayner. And with just 15 laps to go, the big question is, can he chase the 99 down? And then once he gets there, can he pass him? James Harris racing with Andrew Hale. Harris on the outside, Hale on the inside. Let's see what the 55 can do here off the corner. James Harris still with some momentum, but Hale's able to hold even for now. And I was looking back here, Kevin Kirchar actually in the pits. Not sure what happened here to the 91. Did he have some trouble that we missed? Oh, he must have. Look at the damage. The 91. We're going to back this up the manual way because we didn't get any reports of this issue. Oh, it's going to be on just about 3 laps to go, it looks like. Is it going to be coming off one of the corners here? Does he just get tight? Does he get loose? Oh, this is going to have to happen. Well, I'll take that back. I don't really know what happened. It looked like he was a little bit loose off the corner here, coming off a 2, and then just kind of chasing it, and eventually got down to the inside wall. Let's see here. As he comes off 2, yeah, he does. So he gets a little loose, chases it, saves it, gets loose, saves it again, and then, oh, there's that big hit into the inside wall. And, you know, you assume that maybe that did some suspension damage to Kirchar, and part of the reason that he decided to take it to the pit. So that's basically going to end his night. Jason Nethery has also fallen 2 laps down, so only 5 trucks left on the lead lap, and Nathan Meyer no longer closing. He got up to second, and you can kind of see on that time delta screen. Notice how the gap was closing. Excuse me, we'll go up a spot on this to get it a little bit more accurate. I was going to say, notice how that gap was kind of fluctuating a little bit, maybe closing, but then started to extend over the last handful of laps or so. So a tough end here for Nathan Meyer in the sake of the strategy came so close to working of saving that much tire, but having clean air and being able to save tires, it's going to win every day of the week. Regardless, it just doesn't matter. For the 99 Rayner, I think he's only about 9 laps away, 9 miles from trying to take that number 99 Team Conti's Chevy Silverado to victory lane for the 3rd time this season. And on top of that, it would make it 3 wins in a row, which is going to be something to see. All right, so as they come around, jump down to 8 laps to go. You obviously always got to think about the possibility of a caution. And if we get a caution with any time, well, honestly, because this track's so short, any time from now until the finish, or before we grab the white flag at least, it would send us probably into overtime. Should be a 2-lap shootout, but if we make it to that white flag, make this race official, then it'll be just all about cruising home. Until then, you're Rayner. You're going about as fast as you can here over the course of these next handful of laps or so. Andrew Hale trying to push the pace to see if he can track down Nathan Meyer and maybe make a pass on that 24 truck. He briefly got into the outside wall right then, but was able to save it. Andrew Hale in the Ally paint scheme. Good looking colors as always. And then the 55 of James Harris as he continues to work his way through turn 1 and 2. He is now up to, well, actually he lost that battle to Andrew Hale, but he still ultimately had a good run here tonight. No net gain or loss from where he started this race at, but anytime you can put together a top 5 finish, it's got to feel pretty good. especially for James Harris, who's looking to keep consistent and hopes to obviously finish on the podium for the championship standing. Still could try to catch up and maybe fight for that championship, but I mean, if Rayner gets another win tonight, it's going to pull him that much further away from the 55, and obviously making that task a little bit tougher in of itself. And then Toby Ritter's right now all on an island by himself. So the tightest battle that we have on the racetrack at the moment is still Andrew Hale and Nathan Meyer. This is going to decide who gets that second spot. As it stands, as long as they don't take each other out, they'll both finish on the podium. Again, it's who wants second versus who is going to finish in third. Andrew Hale, notice how he ducks the left side of that nose on the front of his truck down a little bit sooner than the 24 of Nathan Meyer. And I'll tell you exactly why he does that. The 4 of Andrew Hale trying to duck the nose down. He's just trying to get a little bit of clean air, a little bit more downforce on the front of his truck. And when you do that, it can help you turn in a little bit better and obviously try to make up some time through the corners as he continues to try to complete this pass on the 24 of Nathan Meyer. Well, back up front for Bryce Rayner. Just 3 miles remaining now as he officially sees 3 laps to go here at the Monster Mile. Dover Motor Speedway, such a tricky track, but again, I know we only had, 9 trucks to start tonight, and I guess the stat sheets don't do it justice because you see 2 of them out of the race. Kevin Kirchhoff recently retired, and then Nethery 2 laps down, but the only caution we had was thrown by the admins, and that was simply for the sake of trying to get these guys grouped back together and make the race a little bit more exciting. But besides that, it has been clean and green all the way through. And as the battle for second continues, it looks like Nathan Meyer has got enough gap that he may be able to hold on here for the next mile and a half. But as Bryce Rayner works off of turn 4, he will see the white flag. 1 lap to go at Dover. And that means no more cautions. If you're Bryce Rayner, this is what you were waiting on, because now all he's got to do is cruise home. Not going to have to worry about pushing the pace anymore. He already did plenty of that tonight. He didn't lead them all. But once he got the lead, he was able to just about hold them all off from that point forward. Bryce Rayner picks up win number 3 to make it a perfect 3 in a row here at Dover. What a finish for the driver of the 99. Team Conti continues its dominance, as does Bryce Rayner. 3rd win of the season, and again, 3rd one in a row here tonight. By that, I mean he won last week, he won the week before. Now he has obviously won it here tonight. So Rayner will bring it around to burn it down. As he does so, show you a quick look at the results here. Again, Rayner is your race winner. Nathan Meyer takes 2nd. Andrew Hale finishes in 3rd. It was James Harrison 4th. Toby Ritter's rounding out the top 5. Jason Nethery 6th. Kevin Kirchhoff 7th. William Mann Jr. in 8th. And Mike Hill rounding out the field tonight. He finishes in 9th. All right, celebrations here continuing for Bryce Rayner. It was a well-earned win, too. I mean, again, I know we didn't have a lot of people. Maybe not the most exciting race to watch, but I mean, you still got to get out here and put on a clinic at a track like this to feel as good as I'm sure Rayner does right now. As he continues to burn it down in front of the virtual grandstands, we will go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Dover. All right, welcome back to Dover Motor Speedway. We're going to start first here tonight with your race winner, the 99 machine of Bryce Rayner. Bryce, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, you grab your 3rd win to make it a perfect 3 in a row here tonight at Dover. Listen, I know there wasn't a lot of people in the field, but you still smoked them on the 1st run and on the 2nd run. But you had to work for it a few times. You had a couple guys creeping up on you there. Tell us a little bit about the setup tonight and how much you feel like it might have helped in this victory.
Yeah, the setup was a late one that we put out for everybody, and I felt like it connected to the track really well. You have to save the tires no matter what and try to keep them under 300 degrees throughout the run and towards pit stops. So like I said last week, it was going to be tough to pass no matter what, and James tried it. He stuck it in there twice, I think, and I kind of gave him a shot for his money and roll around the outside, but then I let him have it. And then I think it was William Mann. He came by and I was like, go ahead. Like, it's all about saving tires, really, especially with this concrete track and a mile track. It's tough on the tires for sure. And I just try to keep it in one piece. But yeah, I mean, long run is my specialty and I love it.
Absolutely. Well, again, another big win for you here tonight. Obviously, we still have 6 races to go in the season, but you gotta be starting to feel a little bit better about your chance of grabbing a championship this year.
Yeah, I sure do. That's what I'm striving for. That's what I wanted to do last season. But couple, finishes too short of Craig to even have a chance. But this week, or this season, I should say, I have a good shot. There are a couple tracks coming up that I'm okay at, but some tracks I am really good on. So we're just going to keep pushing along, and I know these sets are fast each and every week. I just hope that we can keep putting it in on the pole and in victory lane. I feel like not a lot of people can keep up with this truck. I know Nathan, James, and Andrew, they're all up there, but it's all short run. So if they can figure something out, I think it'll be a battle to the end for long runs.
Absolutely. Well, Bryce, before we let you head out here tonight, celebrate another victory, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I just want to thank you up in the booth for, staying and broadcasting this race. I know it was low car count. I don't know if there was much action, but for the first half of the race, I feel like there were, and then after the caution as well. So appreciate you, putting this out for the fans and everybody at home, family, friends, all that sort of stuff. But thank you to the admins as well. I know it was low car count, like I said, but it was good racing, and the competition caution kind of changed things up a little bit, and it was a last second decision by James, and I felt like it was good just to keep the racing close and competitive, like he wants it to be. So that's another kudos to him for putting that out. And then sponsors, Team Conti Sim Performance, fast trucks, fast Xfinity cars each and every week. I love the sets. That's how you get better. I mean, people say open sets are here and there, but it's the trade of the game, and you have to learn, and that's how you get faster. So that's what I'm doing here. Can't wait to keep pushing for a championship, but Digital Sim Sports as well. Martin PC, you up in the booth. Grindstone Developments for putting the league on as well for the sponsor. And we'll go after it for Texas.
Sounds like a plan. Bryce, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the win, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Austin. Thank you.
All right, now that's going to bring us to your second place finisher here tonight, the driver of the number 24. That is Nathan Meyer. Nathan, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you finished second here tonight, and man, that second run, you fell way back, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're up to second, but you couldn't go any further. What more did you feel like you needed there to try to catch the 99?
Yeah, a lot of us were on the same setup, and we just couldn't turn into the corners after 25 laps, and it seemed like Bryce was able to carry more speed and turn the car going into the corner, so he was able to pull away. So I think tonight was more of a setup thing than anything else, but of course Bryce is also really good, so that doesn't help our case. But I tried back.
Oh, and it seems like we may have...
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, sorry, we lost you for a minute, Nathan. Go ahead and continue.
Yeah, I tried to save that second run a little bit more, and I fell back. I didn't want to lose that many positions, but guys were kind of pushing. And I had more tire percentage at the end, but yeah, still couldn't catch him. He could just turn way better than us.
Well, nonetheless, it's still a good finish. Obviously, you lead in points, and finishing second, not going to hurt your point standings overall. So, hey, before we let you head out tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I think so. If you guys putting this on, Kevin and Grindstone Developments and Team Watson for another good setup. And yeah, I got an 8-point lead, so if I just finish second the rest of the way, I'll be good.
Sounds like a plan. Well, Nathan, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the second place finish, and we will see you next week.
Austin, thanks, man.
All right, now it's going to bring us up to your third place finisher, and that is Andrew Hale. Andrew, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Well, you finished in the third spot here tonight, and similar to the last couple weeks, you continue to get better and better. The short run speed was there for you tonight, but did you feel like you needed a little bit more in the long run?
Yeah, I was definitely riding there at the beginning of the race, just biding my time, making sure I didn't wear a tire. I knew we were doing a halfway caution just to keep it racked up, make it fun, interesting for tonight. So I was saving tire, and I was going to take off around lap 15 or so, and just the pace kept getting faster. Then car went tight on entry, then loose off, and so on the second run there, I saved the whole run and took a run at the end there. I was probably faster than Nathan, just didn't want to push the limit and wreck both of us.
Yeah, well, hey, sometimes that's the way this track goes too, and obviously playing it safe over sorry is always a good bet. It gets you the third place finish here tonight, but looking ahead, we still have a decent amount of technical tracks and a few bigger ovals mixed in. Do you feel like at this point in the season you've kind of identified a certain set of tracks that you're better at, whether that be short tracks, mile and a halfs, or do you feel like you've got them just about all starting to be figured out now?
I'll run decent at Texas, Kansas, North Wilkesboro. I'm gonna try to go out and win that one. It's definitely a shorter track than what we just ran tonight. In Nashville, I feel like I got a chance. Them two.
Yeah, those are certainly two of the tracks that are on the technical side. So, hey, you never know. We'll have to see. But before we let you head out here tonight, Andrew, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Team Watson Racing for getting the setups over to us. They were good tonight. Could be a little bit better. Got to hang with those Conti guys, but I'm sure they'll get to work in the garage and get it fixed.
Absolutely.
And
go ahead.
James for putting this thing on tonight. I know a lot of guys didn't show up, but next week they'll be back.
Absolutely. Well, we're hoping for it. Hey, Andrew, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the third place finish, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from the Monster Mile Dover Motor Speedway. Bryce Rayner captures his third win in a row of the season as Nathan Meyer takes second and Andrew Hale finishes on the podium. Well, as always, we thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, apologies if the car count was a little bit low, but racing was still great. As always, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, have a good night.